in a world that's always demanding faster, bigger, more, where the next big thing is always supposedly just around the corner, and the pressure to just accelerate feels, well, it feels absolutely relentless. What if the real path to profound leadership and maybe even lasting success was actually something deeply counterintuitive?
Something completely different.
Exactly. What if it meant choosing not to speed up, not to jump onto the next shiny object or just move on, but instead to consciously, purposefully, well, to stay? Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your guide, and our mission, like always, is to cut through all the noise, sift through some genuinely fascinating material, and pull out those key insights and those real aha moments that hopefully leave you feeling genuinely well-informed.
And today's material is definitely fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. Today, we're setting out on a really unique deep dive. We're stepping onto a path laid out by Lóng Tíng, who's this remarkable voice who, well, he describes himself as someone who walks between ancient and emerging worlds.
A bridge builder.
That's exactly it. Deeply rooted in East Asian thought, but totally present and active in our global modern world. He talks about crafting connections like a bamboo path leading toward a quiet mountain temple. It's quite poetic.
It really is.
And we're diving into his initial thoughts on what he calls inner leadership, specifically from the Global Leadership Insights 2030 mini-series Inner Leadership and its very first episode, Between Breath and Blueprint.
And it's a starting point that feels very different, doesn't it?
It really does. It's rich, deeply philosophical, and I think it's going to resonate with a lot of you navigating the complexities of modern organizations today. So yeah, okay, let's unpack this.
Well, the first thing that just jumps out and what makes this source material so unique for a deep dive like this is that you're right. This is not your standard leadership textbook. It's not a framework telling you do steps A, B, C for success.
Some models here.
Not in this intro, anyway. This piece from Lóng Tíng Enterprises, voiced by Lóng Tíng himself, it feels much more like a contemplative reflection, almost meditative. And he's very open about where these insights come from. They're not from, high-pressure boardrooms or frantic quarterly earnings calls. He actually tells us they were born from his own personal contemplation in these incredibly diverse, sometimes kind of unexpected settings.
Like where?
Well, he mentions things like walking through temple courtyards in Hanoi, just observing, or waiting between airport gates, that kind of in-between space, even listening to the distant hum of servers deep inside a data center.
Wow. Ancient temples and data centers, that's quite a range.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it immediately signals that this perspective goes way beyond typical business models or, standard performance metrics. It's looking past the transactional parts of leadership.
Right. It's more fundamental.
Exactly. It's a deep dive into basic human and organizational questions. And it seems rooted in just careful observation and internal processing, rather than offering quick fixes or prescriptions.
That's such a powerful distinction, isn't it? It really sets the tone that this isn't just about what leaders do, but like you said, it's about how they be, how they show up. So our mission with this deep dive, then, is really to lean into those fundamental, sometimes, uncomfortable questions Lóng Tíng is asking. Questions about leadership, about what organizations even are fundamentally, and about our own roles within them.
Moving beyond the immediate pressures.
Yeah, exactly. It's like an invitation to step away from the relentless demands and the usual metrics that, let's face it, often dictate our every move, and instead to explore a philosophy that might just redefine what it means to lead authentically and maybe sustainably in this day and age.
It's an invitation to pause.
Totally. To pause, look inward, and consider a different kind of strength. One that's maybe less about sheer speed and more about, well, stillness. About bridging that gap between all the external pressures and our own internal compass.
Finding that balance.
So Lóng Tíng shares that this quiet, almost persistent question kept coming back to him in all these different contemplative places. Didn't matter if it was an ancient temple or a high-tech data center. The question was, what does it mean to stay?
To stay. It sounds simple, but it's clearly not.
No, and he's very clear it's absolutely crucial to get this. He's not talking about just surviving. This isn't about, hunkering down, gritting your teeth, and just trying to endure a rough patch until things get better.
Right, not just waiting out the storm.
Or, and this is important too, it's not about resisting change just because you're scared or clinging to the familiar because innovation feels too risky or, disruptive. He's really careful to define what staying isn't. It's a deliberate distinction from just passive endurance.
Indeed. And what's truly fascinating, I think, is how this whole concept of staying just fundamentally challenges that default impulse we see in so many organizations today. Well, that relentless drive, right? To constantly tweak the new thing, to optimize for breakneck speed, to pivot constantly, disrupt markets, just move at this seemingly unsustainable pace.
Yeah, the move fast and break things
Right.
ethos.
Exactly. But Ting describes staying as something completely different. It's a conscious act, a purposeful act, an intentional choice. Even when the easier path, the more comfortable option, or maybe even the path that seems more logical on the surface, would be to accelerate or pivot or just move on to the next trend, the next opportunity.
So it's not inertia.
Not at all. It's not passive inertia or some lack of ambition. He frames it as an active, intentional presence, a kind of commitment that really runs counter to the prevailing winds of our fast-paced, always-on world.
It speaks to a different kind of strength, maybe.
I think so. A deeper sense of grounding, maybe. An unwavering commitment, even when there are huge external pressures pushing you to change course. In an age where agility often gets translated into just rapid, continuous, sometimes maybe even aimless change.
Chasing your tail, almost.
Right. The idea of purposeful staying offers this compelling alternative. Or maybe it's a necessary complement. It implies this kind of internal fortitude, this resilient core that lets an organization hold its ground, stay deeply true to its core purpose, its values, even when everything outside is pushing for deviation or just superficial change.
It sounds like quiet strength.
It does. A deliberate choice, maybe, to cultivate depth over just breadth, or essence over fleeting trends.
And the way he got to these insights is really compelling, too. He talks about the genesis of these ideas coming from what he calls his dragon genes.
Dragon genes, okay?
Yeah, when I first read that, I thought, what on earth is dragon genes? But he explains they weren't actually conceived for the business world, not for organizations or strategy, not initially anyway.
So where did they come from?
It was a deeply personal search, he says, for another kind of language, a language capable of holding paradox.
Holding paradox. Okay, that's interesting. Like Zen chones.
Kind of, yeah. Think of them like philosophical riddles or thought experiments, but maybe tailored specifically to these dilemmas in leadership. They're designed to make you confront apparently contradictory truths at the same time, without needing to immediately resolve them.
So embracing the complexity, not simplifying it.
Exactly. And he lists 3 specific paradoxes that kept coming up for him. Ready? Leadership and vulnerability.
Okay, that's a big one right there.
Isn't it? Then urgency and devotion.
Urgency and devotion.
And finally, strategy and stillness.
Strategy and stillness. Wow. Those are not easy pairings, are they?
Not at all. We're often taught leaders need to be strong, decisive, never show weakness, project total control. But he's suggesting real leadership might actually embrace vulnerability, find strength in that openness.
And the urgency devotion one. We're constantly driven by deadlines, immediate results. But devotion implies something deeper, right? Almost spiritual, beyond the clock.
Yeah. And strategy, we think, action, movement, pushing forward. But pairing it with stillness that suggests quiet contemplation is key to finding the right path. It really flips how we normally view these things.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this whole idea of embracing and holding paradox, well, it feels absolutely essential for any leader trying to navigate the sheer complexity of the world right now.
It's unavoidable, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Moving beyond simple either thinking isn't a luxury anymore. It feels like a basic necessity for effective leadership. I mean, think about the big challenges. Climate change, social inequality, geopolitical shifts, technology disrupting everything.
None have easy single answers.
Right. They rarely, if ever, do. They often demand that leaders reconcile competing demands, find some kind of harmony in things that seem contradictory, hold multiple truths at once without just collapsing under the tension.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Like a leader might need to drive urgent, decisive change because the market's shifting rapidly. But at the same time, they need to foster a deep sense of long-term devotion, stability, psychological safety within their team. That's a paradox right there.
Absolutely. Or executing strategy versus finding stillness.
Exactly. You need to meticulously execute a clear strategy, but you also need to cultivate moments of real stillness, reflection, that allow for new insights, creative shifts, adaptation to emerge. It's about finding that dynamic tension between these forces that seem to pull in opposite directions.
And it's fascinating how these personal inquiries, these dragon cons, evolved for him.
Yeah, he mentions that, doesn't he?
He does. He says, in the conversations that followed with founders, students, board members, cultural workers, I realized something. The cons were quietly pointing toward the future of organizations.
So it wasn't just an abstract philosophical thing. It connected with real-world leaders.
Exactly. It wasn't just stuck in a philosophy department. It was a living philosophy that resonated with the very real, tangible challenges people were facing across different sectors. It shows this evolution in his thinking, where deep personal reflection found this unexpected but really powerful application in the messy world of organizational leadership.
It's like he's building that bridge again, isn't he? Connecting that inner wisdom, that contemplation with the challenges of the outer world. It suggests the deep, maybe uncomfortable truths of our inner lives actually hold keys to unlocking complex organizational dynamics.
And this journey through paradox and introspection leads us to one of the most striking analogies Ting uses. It's a metaphor that just completely shifts how we normally think about what a company is. He envisions a future where a company is not an engine but a garden.
Engine versus garden. Okay. That's evocative.
It really is, and it's not just poetry. It's a radical reimagining. It has profound practical implications for how we define growth, how we measure leadership, how we even define success itself.
So if we stop seeing a company as an engine, like a machine, all about efficiency, churning out outputs.
Predictable, relentless motion.
Right. And instead see it as a living, breathing garden, then growth itself changes meaning completely.
How so?
Well, growth doesn't just mean making more noise, or accelerating faster, or expanding horizontally just for market share, or maximizing quarterly output. In the garden metaphor, growth means sinking deeper roots.
Deeper roots. What might that look like in practical terms for a company?
Well, think about it. Deeper roots could mean building a stronger, more resilient, genuinely inclusive culture, one that really supports its people, values psychological safety.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or it could mean forging really deep ethical foundations, transparent governance that can actually withstand external pressures or ethical challenges. It might mean cultivating long-term, trust-based relationships with everyone, stakeholders, customers, suppliers, maybe even competitors, seeing them as part of a whole ecosystem, not just transactions.
So building foundational strength, intrinsic value, resilience, not just superficial gains.
Exactly, organic resilience. And then leadership itself transforms too. He says it's not measured by dominance, but by presence.
Presence, not dominance. That's a huge shift from the usual heroic leader archetype.
It is. Presence in this context. Well, maybe it manifests as really deep, active listening, truly hearing what's being said, and maybe even more importantly, what's not being said within the organization.
Picking up the subtle signals.
It could mean mindful, deliberate decision-making, making choices with a full awareness of their long-term ripple effects, their impact on the whole garden, not just immediate profit. It signals authentic engagement, showing up as a real human being, with empathy, integrity, genuine curiosity, not just a detached figurehead or a decision-making machine.
It sounds less like commanding and more like nurturing, like a wise gardener.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Which then raises this really important, maybe challenging question for all of us. How would our day-to-day operations, our KPIs, our key performance indicators, our strategic planning, how would all that fundamentally change if we actually truly embraced this garden metaphor?
That's a big question, because the engine mindset is so ingrained.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
The practical differences are profound. Think about resource allocation. In an engine model, you might prioritize quick returns, immediate market share, short-term profit, employee well-being. Easily seen as a cost center, something to minimize for efficiency's sake.
Get the most out of the human resources.
Right. And strategic planning often focuses on competitive advantage through aggressive expansion, market domination, rapid innovation, often at the expense of long-term sustainability or even the health of the internal system.
Okay, so how does the garden mindset change that?
Well, a garden operates on totally different principles, doesn't it? Cycles, patience, deep interconnectedness. Its resources aren't just fuel, they're water, sunlight, fertile soil, time. The goal is sustainable flourishing, not just maximum immediate yield.
So resource allocation.
In a garden mindset, you'd prioritize nurturing the soil. That translates to maybe investing heavily in long-term R&D, even if the payoff is years away. Or fostering deep employee growth and well-being, because that is the foundation for organizational health. It means building resilient, symbiotic relationships across the whole value chain.
Employee well-being becomes an asset, not a cost.
An essential ingredient for sustainable organic growth. Yeah. And strategic planning would shift emphasis towards ecosystem health, maybe seeking collaborative growth, long-term vitality, deep societal impact, perhaps even accepting slower, more organic growth if it leads to deeper, more meaningful, more sustainable value.
It's a huge shift from a mechanistic view to an organic living systems approach.
It really is. It invites us to think about what it means to genuinely steward an organization, to cultivate an environment where not just profit, but purpose, people, and the planet can actually flourish together harmoniously over generations.
And this shift, engine to garden, really sets the stage for this whole special series he's doing. LóngTíng is super clear about what this series isn't. He says it's not an appendix to the Global Leadership Study Companion or just a technical extension to give more tools.
It's not Chapter 11b.
No, it's not a dry addendum. He calls it an applied reflection, a dedicated space for these deeper philosophical questions to really connect with the tangible decisions, the existing structures, the actual human beings in organizations, bridging the abstract and the concrete.
Okay, an applied reflection. I like that.
And here's where it gets really interesting, maybe a bit provocative. He makes this deliberate promise. He says very plainly, I won't offer models or shortcuts. I will offer questions, uncomfortable ones.
Wow. In a world crying out for five-step methods and quick fixes.
He's offering the exact opposite. He's inviting us into the discomfort of unresolved questions, into that space where the answers aren't obvious or easy. He talks about questions that do not resolve in a five-step method, questions that linger in the heart like the taste of tea long after the cup is empty.
That suggests a different kind of knowing, doesn't it? Not just information, but wisdom that unfolds over time, letting the question itself teach you something.
Exactly. And then he gives us these specific, really provocative questions. They're designed to challenge our thinking and just stick with us. First one, and this one really stopped me, what if your quarterly results were whispered by your great-grandchildren?
Oof. Okay. That hits differently.
Doesn't it? It's not just a nice image, it's a radical reframing of time. It forces you to confront the pressure of short-term gains against the potential judgment of future generations. How would our investment strategies change if we knew our descendants were reviewing them?
Would we still prioritize short-term buybacks over foundational research that might take decades? Or make decisions that harm the environment? It forces a deeply ethical, long-term lens onto everything.
Absolutely. Then he asks, what if growth was not movement, but deepening?
Back to the roots idea.
Yes, reiterating that, it challenges the whole definition of progress. Is growth always about expansion, more market share, faster revenue? Or can it be about strengthening intrinsic value, enhancing resilience, becoming more purposeful, maybe more impactful in a focused way?
Shifting from purely quantitative how much to qualitative how well, how deep, how meaningful. Looking inward before expanding outward.
And the last one, this beautiful image. What if responsibility could move like bamboo in the wind?
Bamboo. Strong, but flexible.
Exactly. It bends, adapts, but doesn't break. It implies responsibility within an organization that isn't rigid or just top-down, but adaptable, resilient, maybe collectively earned, like a fluid distribution of ownership where the whole organization responds dynamically, like bamboo groves swaying together.
So shared agile accountability that's deeply rooted but responsive, not a brittle chain of command. That's powerful.
It really is.
And, this resonates so strongly with the idea that true, impactful leadership often comes from an internal place, right? An internal locus of control, that deep sense of inner alignment rather than just constantly seeking external validation.
Which is hard to do.
Oh, incredibly hard. But when LóngTíng urges us to listen not with your consulting mind, but with your inner compass, he's reinforcing that exact shift, moving away from relying only on external frameworks, best practices, generic models.
The consulting mind looking for templates.
Exactly. And instead, cultivating that internal wisdom. The inner compass is about your deep intuition, your core values, that unique sense of purpose that should guide decisions within your specific context.
So leaders need to actively cultivate that capacity for introspection.
I think that's what he's suggesting. To listen to that deeper, more subtle intelligence that goes beyond just data points and market trends. It suggests the most profound insights for an organization's future might not come from the latest external report, but from that quiet internal tuning in to its true purpose, its story, its potential.
It requires being okay with ambiguity, then.
Absolutely. Being comfortable with the discomfort of questions that don't have immediate, easy answers, trusting that a deeper understanding will emerge from that sustained contemplation and staying aligned with core values. It's about developing a more holistic, integrated way of leading, where strategic foresight is deeply connected to personal integrity and that guiding sense of purpose.
Recognizing wisdom often comes from within, by listening to the organization's soul.
Beautifully put. listening to the soul of the organization.
And building on that idea of sensing a deeper truth, LongTíng emphasizes that every organization, whether a global enterprise or a small social initiative, carries a pulse, a pattern of energy, a rhythm of action.
A pulse, an energy pattern.
Yeah, it's not just a flowery phrase. It suggests that underneath all the charts and spreadsheets and meeting minutes, there's this living, vibrating thing with its own unique cadence, its own internal clock.
And leadership's role.
He says, leadership, in its deepest sense, means sensing that rhythm and serving it.
Sensing and serving it. Okay. That's a radical departure from leadership, as just commanding, control, directing, and executing.
Totally. It's leadership as attunement, as actively listening to the heartbeat, the subtle vibrations of the organization itself.
It sounds almost like a conductor, listening intently to every part of the orchestra, understanding its dynamics, its needs, or like that seasoned gardener, observing the unique needs of each plant.
Right. But how do leaders practically do that? How do you sense that rhythm beyond just looking at the formal metrics?
That's the key question, isn't it? While the financials and reports are important, this goes much deeper. Sensing the rhythm might involve, say, observing the informal networks, the communication flows, how things really get done, understanding the unwritten rules, the unspoken power dynamics that actually drive behavior.
The water cooler conversations?
Exactly. Listening to those murmurs in the hallways that often reveal the true culture and morale, the collective emotional state, maybe more accurately than any official survey.
So paying attention to employee sentiment beyond the surveys.
Definitely. Through genuine open dialogue, through just quiet observation of body language in meetings, noticing shifts in engagement. It's about understanding subtle shifts in stakeholder relationships too, maybe anticipating customer needs before they're even articulated, and being deeply aware of the broader context, societal, environmental, technological, that the organization exists within.
Maybe even understanding the historical patterns, the stories, the past challenges.
Yes, absolutely. It's foundational stories, it's moments of triumph and failure, it's past mistakes, all that shapes its current trajectory and inertia. This kind of sensing needs real presence, intuitive intelligence, and a willingness to look way beyond the obvious, the quantifiable, the easily measured.
Being present enough to feel the collective energy.
Exactly. Those underlying currents that truly drive or sometimes subtly hold back an organization's progress and potential. Its leadership is a really subtle art of perception.
And as we move towards understanding this deeper sense of leadership, this attuned presence, LongTíng brings us to this incredibly powerful visualization. It really makes you pause. He invites us to stay here for a moment on the threshold between breath and blueprint, between poetry and policy.
The threshold between breadths and blueprint, poetry and policy.
It's not just rhetoric, right? It's an invitation to occupy that liminal space, that boundary where the vision, the big dreams, the blueprint, the poetry meets the tangible, often messy day-to-day reality, the breath, the policy, where dreams meet discipline.
Okay, and what happens on that threshold?
He challenges you, the listener, directly. Imagine a company, not just a name or a logo, but the essence of it. Its people, its stories, its unspoken promises.
Stripping away the superficial layers.
Exactly. Get right to the soul.
Right.
Who are the real people breathing life into it? What are the foundational stories, the origin myths, the struggles and triumphs that define it? What are those implicit commitments it makes to employees, customers, community, the world that maybe aren't written down anywhere, sensing its true character? Okay, he pushes it even further, beyond our own lifetimes. Imagine this company 100 years from now. You are no longer there, nor are today's board members. And yet, the decisions made now still profoundly shape the lives of those who work there, their families, and the communities they inhabit.
That is a stark reminder, isn't it? The long-term ripple effect of what we do now.
Immense. Every choice, every policy, every cultural norm we set today has this legacy effect that goes way beyond our own time here. It's an act of, radical intergenerational empathy and responsibility. A responsibility to future stakeholders we'll never meet.
Wow.
And then comes the killer question, designed to get a gut reaction. Is that comforting or unsettling?
Oof. Yeah. How you feel answering that says a lot.
It's a direct measure, isn't it? An honest measure of how aligned your leadership is with legacy, with long-term impact. Are we building something that will genuinely last, something we'd be proud for future generations to inherit? Or are we making short-sighted calls, prioritizing immediate gratification or personal gain that will leave a mess for others? It forces a really honest self-check.
A potent mirror.
Totally. And he wraps up this thought by saying exactly who this special deep dive is for. For those who choose not to turn away from that feeling. For those who believe that legacy is not what we leave behind, but what we cultivate while we are still here.
So it's not for the faint of heart?
Definitely not, or for those only focused on the next quarter. It's for leaders who see their work as this ongoing, intentional act of cultivation, shaping something enduring, meaningful, something that will truly flourish long after they're gone. It's about a commitment that outlasts your own presence.
And if we connect that to the bigger picture again, this perspective goes way beyond just ticking boxes for CSR or sustainability reports, doesn't it? It's digging into a fundamental redefinition of what success even means for an organization over generations.
It feels deeper than ESG frameworks somehow.
I think it does. While things like ESG are crucial for providing tangible metrics and transparency, LóngTíng's philosophy seems to ask the deeper, more existential question. What's the spirit behind these commitments? What's the real intent?
Moving beyond just compliance or looking good.
Exactly. Moving beyond just compliance or maybe getting a competitive edge from being seen as green or socially conscious, and towards a genuine sense of intergenerational responsibility, a profound duty to the future. It implies a company's ultimate success isn't just its current stock price or profit margin, but its enduring value and its consistently positive impact on everyone it touches, long after the current leaders are gone.
So that comforting or unsettling question becomes a practical tool.
A potent internal compass, yeah. For ethical decisions, for long-term strategic alignment. It forces leaders to think about the true wealth they're creating, not just financial capital, but social, environmental, human capital, the kind that will actually sustain the organization's legacy for those future inhabitants. This holistic view changes everything: how you prioritize investments, how you manage talent, how you genuinely engage with communities.
It asks, are you building a fortress for yourself, or are you cultivating fertile ground for a forest that will thrive for centuries?
That's a powerful way to frame it: fortress or forest.
So, if this whole profound shift engine to garden, dominance to presence, short-term gains to generational impact, if this is the goal, how do we actually start doing it? How do we make it practical? Lóng Tíng hints at this through his idea of the study companion.
Yes, the study companion.
But he's really quick to clarify, it's not as a framework or a brand. It's not just another methodology you learn from a manual, not another certification to get. He describes it rather as a mindset, a way of holding power rooted in care, longevity, and deep relationship.
A mindset, not a model. That's key.
It really is. It's not about following steps A, B, C. It's about inhabiting a particular way of being, seeing the world, leading.
And what are the implications of a mindset rooted in care, practically speaking?
Well, think about decision-making. If it's filtered through a lens of genuine care, decisions wouldn't just prioritize immediate financial gain. They'd consider what truly benefits people and the planet long-term. Investing in employee well-being wouldn't be a cost, but genuinely nurturing the roots, the soil of your human capital.
Right. Seeing people as the source of value.
Exactly. Engaging with customers as partners on a long journey, building real loyalty, not just maximizing transactions. It shifts the whole model from potentially extractive short-term thinking to sustainable shared value creation. Every choice, every investment, every interaction becomes an act of intentional stewardship. It really is about cultivating.
And that idea of deep relationship in an organizational context, it goes so far beyond just transactional stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just contracts, service agreements, automated emails.
No. So what does it look like?
Deep relationship implies genuine, empathetic connection with everyone: employees, customers, suppliers, partners, the community. For employees, it means fostering real trust, psychological safety, mutual respect, where people feel seen, heard, valued way beyond just their job title or output.
Which translates into things like transparent communication, investing in their growth.
Absolutely. Creating paths for authentic voice. For customers, it's building loyalty through shared values, a sense of belonging, knowing the company actually cares about their long-term success.
Sure.
For suppliers, it's moving from pure cost squeezing to collaborative partnerships based on mutual benefit ethical practices.
Being for the community.
Being a responsible, contributing member, genuinely invested in its welfare, not just extracting resources. This whole mindset transforms how power works too. Instead of power as control or dominance, a zero-sum game.
It becomes power as influence, service.
Yes, power is the capacity to empower others to flourish. Co-creating the future with everyone impacted. Recognizing that collective intelligence, shared purpose, distributed leadership are way more resilient and innovative than just top-down commands. It moves from a competitive, extractive model towards a collaborative, regenerative ecosystem. Longevity and mutual flourishing become the real measures of success.
Okay, so if this shift is really about cultivating this mindset, care, longevity, deep relationship, the big question remains, what does that look like day to day? How do I do this? And Long Ting's answer is, well, it's elegantly simple, but maybe profoundly challenging to actually put into practice.
Which is?
It begins with listening.
Listening, okay.
Right.
But not just any listening.
No, exactly. This isn't the superficial, maybe performative listening we often see in corporations, not the tick box exercise of stakeholder meetings with preset agendas or feedback sessions just designed to confirm existing biases or justify decisions already made.
So what kind of listening is it?
He makes a very specific distinction. He calls it the listening that asks, what is this organization trying to become, and how can I protect that becoming?
Wow. What is this organization trying to become? That's a radically different question.
Isn't it? It's listening for the inherent purpose, the emergent potential, the very soul of the organization, its deepest aspirations. Tuning into its true north, even if that direction isn't fully clear or consciously understood by everyone yet.
It implies a real humility from the leader, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Acknowledging the organization has its own life force, its own trajectory, like a living thing.
Exactly. And the leader's role becomes serving that unfolding, safeguarding its authentic development, ensuring it becomes what it's truly meant to be, rather than forcing it into some preconceived box.
And, that really raises an important, often overlooked point about the kind of quiet internal work a leader needs to do to even begin to understand the soul of their organization. This deep listening, it's like a form of strategic empathy, right? Aiming to understand the inherent purpose, the authentic path of the entity itself, not just processing data or managing opinions or reacting to crises.
How do you do that internal work?
Well, it probably requires shedding preconceived ideas, letting go of personal biases, being truly open to what the organization is communicating, often through subtle ways, nonverbal cues, the culture, unspoken stories, maybe even its collective unconscious. It means being able to pick out that faint, crucial signal of its true potential from all the overwhelming noise of daily operations, market demands, internal politics, competing priorities.
So maybe needing deliberate reflection, solitude even.
Quite possibly. Connecting with different parts of the organization without a fixed agenda, just seeking genuine understanding. Spending time simply observing dynamics, interactions, spaces, with that beginner's mind free from judgment, recognizing it's not just parts and processes, but a complex living system with an evolving identity.
And protecting its becoming.
That means actively fostering the conditions for that authentic purpose to emerge. Removing obstacles, providing the right nourishment for its inherent growth, even if that growth looks different from conventional metrics or needs a slower, more deliberate pace. It's a visionary, yet deeply grounded leadership that puts identity, purpose, and soulful evolution first.
And this deep listening, this tuning into the organization's becoming, connects directly to another powerful insight from Long Ting. Every company begins with a story.
The foundational story.
Yeah, and not just the founding myth or the marketing spiel. It's the intrinsic reason it exists, the initial spark, its fundamental DNA. He acknowledges sometimes it is clearly told, sometimes it hides beneath spreadsheets and agendas, but it is always there like a seed wrapped in time.
Easily buried under complexity and targets.
So easily, under layers of corporate stuff, quarterly targets, growth initiatives, scaling demands. But he insists it's always present, just waiting to be remembered or rediscovered.
And leadership's role is to remember it.
Precisely, in its most profound sense. Leadership means remembering that story, watering it, even when the rest of the world moves faster than it can grow. It's about deep stewardship of the company's core identity and purpose.
Remembering and watering it. Okay.
Remembering means staying rigorously true to that initial purpose, those foundational values, even as you scale or face new challenges. Watering it means actively nurturing that purpose, keeping it vital, relevant, vibrant as the organization evolves or adapts. It means actively protecting its soul, its intrinsic value, from all that external pressure to chase trends or conform in ways that might compromise its core.
Especially when the market demands speed and constant change.
Exactly. It's an act of profound, almost sacred commitment then. And he insists, this is not romanticism, this is strategic discipline.
That's important, not just nostalgia.
No, it's a deliberate, disciplined act, maintaining absolute clarity of purpose and identity in this increasingly fragmented, chaotic world. It's a strategic choice, anchoring the organization in its truth, providing a compass for all future decisions, making sure every new thing serves that deeper, enduring story.
Precisely. Because, as Long Ting concludes, In a time of such fragmentation and widespread organizational fatigue, when companies are constantly being pulled in a million directions by tech shifts, market volatility, intense competition, social demands, he says, only those organizations that know why they exist will remain.
Wow, that really underscores the vital link, doesn't it, between clear identity, remembered purpose, and actual long-term resilience.
Absolutely undeniable. Organizations that lose touch with their story, forget their original why, they just become untethered, easily swayed, lose their distinctiveness, their impact, and ultimately, maybe their very reason for being. They become generic, replaceable, vulnerable.
So it's not just about survival, it's about thriving with integrity.
Exactly. Flourishing authentically. When a company truly knows its story and embodies its purpose, every decision, every product, every service, every interaction can align with that core truth. That creates immense, almost unassailable competitive advantage, fostering deep trust, loyalty from everyone involved.
It becomes a powerful internal compass.
Yes, allowing the organization to navigate complexity, to confidently say no to things that don't fit, and to commit deeply to what really matters. Ultimately, it means building an enduring legacy, not by chasing temporary wins, but by cultivating that deep, authentic, sustainable identity that resonates far into the future, like those echoes of a bell in a quiet temple courtyard. It's the ultimate strategic differentiator, having a true north when the world seems to have lost its bearings.
So we've really covered some ground today, taking a deep dive into this profound, often counterintuitive idea of inner leadership from Lóng Tíng. We've stepped onto a path that challenges so many of our usual ideas about speed, growth, success.
We really have.
We explored that radical, grounding idea of staying not passive survival, but a conscious, purposeful presence and commitment. We reimagined the organization not as a cold engine, but a vibrant garden where growth means deeper roots, and leadership is about presence, not dominance.
And we sat with those powerful, uncomfortable questions, the ones without easy answers, prompting us to think about how our decisions today echo through generations.
And Lóng Tíng promises this journey continues. In the next episode, he says he'll be exploring the seed of legacy, how long-term integrity can survive the pressure of short-term demands.
That sounds like a really essential follow-up, getting into the practicalities of embedding this philosophy.
It does, very practical. But for now, I want to invite you, our listeners, to just sit with Lóng Tíng's final invitation for reflection, his quiet challenge to all of us. Stay a little longer in this silence with me. Take one quiet breath and ask yourself, what would change in my organization if staying became more important than winning?
And that's not just a hypothetical thought experiment, is it? It's a direct, profound invitation to embrace a different kind of leadership entirely, one rooted in deep intentionality, quiet conviction, and that truly profound connection to the future you're actively creating right now.
It challenges the very definition of success.
It really does, the one that dominates our culture. It prompts this fundamental internal shift in how we lead, how our organizations operate. It asks you, the listener, to really reconsider what truly endures, what genuinely matters, and what kind of legacy you're building, not just for shareholders or the bottom line, but for everyone touched by your decisions now and 100 years from now.
Look inward, connect with that inner compass.
Exactly. And truly consider the quiet, enduring power of presence over that endless, often frantic pursuit.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really look forward to continuing this important conversation with you next time.